Greetings, spaghetti specialists. Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to Oxygen Not Included Volcanea, episode 36, Unjanky. So the electrolyzer should have priority over the geysers. That's another big thing, right? Because the electrolyzer's hydrogen, if the electrolyzer doesn't have priority over the geysers, then it can interrupt my oxygen generation. So the geyser feeding lines are going to... Is this how to do priority? Like this? Right? That's correct? Because I again, haven't... I'm a little foggy on line priority. I know it's with bridges, but I think it's like that. Or does it have... Or does the end spout have to overlap with the pipe? I think it has to overlap. Maybe chat, you can clarify. I can also experimentally figure it out. So now the electrolyzer feeds these 10 tanks with priority, and this line here, this line can be the geyser feeding line. So some of the other things I need to do is to do, I'm going to want to insulate this whole thing. Meaning I have to get rid of this insulated tile, because I don't have access to this space. Good news is most of this line now is insulated, so it's not going to bleed so much heat into the base, because that's what was happening before. Is because these lines weren't insulated. Heat was bleeding kind of everywhere. And I'm going to rework the way the lines are laid out. Could I automate it? Yeah, I could automate it so that if any one tank gets too full, it hits a release valve and dumps the excess to space, now that I have a vacuum here. So I could automate it so that if the last tank in either system, so if the last tank in the oxygen storage system or the last tank in the hydrogen storage system hits 90% capacity, it opens up a valve to dump the excess to space. That way it automatically balances out. And I can work that into this overhaul now as well. Oops. I think we just released some hydrogen to the air. Yep. Oh well. One little pocket of hydrogen ain't gonna kill anyone. So a huge part of this... Oh, what is this nonsense? Huge part of the system is just to like overhaul it so that it's insulated and so it's less of a heat problem for the base. And also trying to make it look slightly less spaghetti, so it's just easier to visually understand. So a whole lot of rework there. All right, that still needs to be insulated. All right, so this line here, this geyser line is for storage, and storage only. It does make me think that I should probably... I could have the hydrogen come off the geyser and come down this way to feed the line. I think I'm going to do that. So where the fire pole is will be hydrogen coming off the top geyser, leaving the other line that I already have built to be the one that feeds the ATNs. Oop, too high. Right there. Oh, yep, I see one issue with that, which is the double line here. So I'm going to have to nuke the oxygen, because that will just bleed oxygen out into the map, which is fine. I want to get rid of this chlorine. So I'm going to do it in a very cheesy way. In fact, I'm going to have the oxygen go above the hydrogen line, because the oxygen is less temperature sensitive. Where the temperature of the oxygen doesn't really matter. Temperature of hydrogen obviously matters. And the only time hydrogen crosses with hydrogen, obviously the hydrogen needs to be bridged. So quite the overhaul. Yellow cake wedge. In fact, I don't even need this vent. Oh boy, what a project. Okay. Just making sure the bridges are in the right direction. Okay. So now the hydrogen from the geyser has a straight insulated tank line. Oh, that's still unreachable? I thought they could get it from the corner. Maybe they have to stand there. So the plan is to pull this hydrogen. So I'll snip this here. And then this whole everything, sadly, can get broken down. As we're changing how it's fed. Okay, yeah, we can reach that now. Build diagonally if you stand there. Alright, the construction part of this line is more important. So I'll prioritize that section. And then getting this done so that we can isolate the cold biome again. But actually, I think most of the lines are already built. And I believe, I didn't see anyone answer me, but I believe that the, that it has to be overlaid like this for priority to work. Do I have it like this? That's, I think, how bridge priority works. And if I'm wrong, I will be corrected. I'm also going to change which... anything that's a hot line will have priority over cooler lines. So this hot oxygen line is taking priority over the cooler oxygen line, because I don't really care if the cooler oxygen line bridges. Now, it looks like my oxygen is not coming out as cold as I want. So I'll add some additional obsidian, thermally reactive obsidian lines here. I might even want a radiant line. So this oxygen is not hot, but it's not cool like I wanted. So I'll keep an eye on that. Ooh, food. So then this old line is going to be what feeds the ATNs. So it's going to look something like this, where it splits here and feeds the ATNs from this tank. So this tank feeds the two hydrogen generators and then the ATNs up there. So, you know, I didn't really have to rework this line too much. Meaning that, like, these tanks are just, like, backup ATN tanks, which is fine. That way I don't have to, like, empty them out or anything. They're totally fine as is. I'm slowly deleting this chlorine so that this can be pure hydrogen. Yep. Alright, why did oxygen stop flowing? Because I snipped a line and didn't replace it, I'm assuming? That's exactly what I did. So if you have questions about this, it's basically just prioritizing the hydrogen that we make on our electrolyzer to go into these 10 tanks, deprioritizing the flow of hydrogen coming off of our geysers. So the geysers can't shut down our electrolyzer as easy. That would be the long and short of it. And then making sure that the hot lines, the lines with hot gases, are fully insulated everywhere where they should be, forcing the not hot lines to bridge over them. So we have the not hot oxygen bridging over the hot stuff. That's sort of the TLDR. It looks like a bit of a mess, but I'll give you the full tour once it's done. So now I've deleted the chlorine using diagonal building, and this is disabled still, but and that would be another thing, is to probably have AND gates hooked up to the pumps and to feed and to have them have signal switches as well. Just so that I have a little bit of manual control as well. So let's do that. Sticking in AND gates. Signal switch. Okay, that's already physically disabled. Like that. I'm doing that for both. So if I want to turn the geyser pumps off, I can very easily. All right, that looks about right. So let's just, why is oxygen stopping here? That, I don't really get. I mean, I can just fix it by throwing a bridge in, but I'm not sure why oxygen just stops there all of a sudden. Because there's oxygen consumers downstream. But, alright, so let's see. Yeah. That switch works. And that switch works. So now I can turn on the gas pumps and control them with the signal switches. Okay. These need to get hooked up. So now we have a full flow of... Oh, I see one non-insulated pipe. But we have a full flow of insulated pipes around our hydrogen, with prioritization built in. And then the last thing is then to top up the AATN tanks, and to probably insulate them as well. I want to start to have the hydrogen flow back to get rid of the room filling lines. because these gas vents will never be used again, so I'm just trying to phase them out while I'm doing it. Oh, okay. Well, that seemed complicated. It really isn't, I don't think. It seemed complicated. So now, this tank feeds both hydrogen generators and both ATNs. And I'm rerouting it for less spaghetti. Because the, we don't need the gas fill shutoffs for the vents that fill the room, as the rooms are now full. And okay, that didn't help with the oxygen. Oxygen, why you stop here? I don't get it. Why it stops here. But my oxygen tanks are full. So the only issue with the oxygen tanks being full is the oxygen that's stuck in the loop gets very, very cold. Now it's, by volume, not a lot of oxygen that's getting super frozen. And it's not going to become liquid because the room's not cold enough for that. But that would be one thing to fix going forward. There's actually... Okay, there's something wrong here. Because there's a lot of stuff down the line. I think it's because it's overlapping this. Maybe. I'll try to fix the oxygen, too. I know that you voted for hydrogen, but the fact that my oxygen is not flowing is a... Oh, no, I see the problem. This is a backwards bridge. Ta-da! Backwards bridge. Found it. That's why it wasn't flowing. All done. When things are sufficiently spaghetti, sometimes you just fail to see the issues. Alright, so now that it's not a backwards bridge, this doesn't need to be bridged. I did that because I didn't understand what the problem was. But yeah. Everything's flowing everywhere now. Alright. So let's start filling our hydrogen tanks as kind of another test. So now you'll see hydrogen coming in from both geysers to fill the tanks, where the priority is given to the electrolyzer, not the not the geyser filling. That seems to work. I think everything is working. So I'm trying to get rid of some of this this jumble here. This nonsense. And as this nullifier uses up here, in fact, I can even snip it. So as this nullifier uses up hydrogen, some of this old jumble will get resolved. Oh. There we go. So it's a little bit it's a little bit spaghetti, but it's way better than was before, and it has prioritization. It doesn't have the fail-safes. That's the one big thing that it does not have, which is an overflow valve. The thinking that I have is like, I can manage some of the overflow valve manually, but that would be something that I would want to add to it. I'm just looking at the clock for time that's left, because this part of the project is just about wrapped up, and it's kind of perfect timing. Maybe I'll put this colder. What is... Well, I wouldn't want the... What temperature does oxygen become liquid? Okay, yeah, there's a lot of wiggle room here. So let's say negative 100°C. Just so that we use up more hydrogen in the process. Making the room colder. So if I'm doing that, if I'm chilling the room, I'm going to want to insulate these pipes again, because they're going to be exposed to way colder temperatures than what was before. And then I think it's also maybe a good idea to set up the suit dock soon, so that whoever comes in here is actually protected from the eye irritant and the super cold. I mostly set the temperature really low so that I can fix some of the spaghetti plumbing. That was, because as we're using up as we're using up the gas here, it's slowly fixing the horrible spaghetti plumbing that I've got going on. Very slow. Would this freeze? Oh, that's a good point. So the freeze temperature here, I have to keep it above negative 57. So let's do negative 50. So I don't end up with solid petroleum. Good call. It would take a while for the temperature of the petroleum to drop, but like it would inevitably drop and then become a problem. Oh, there's also carbon dioxide in here from them breathing out, and a little oxygen too. I don't even... The oxygen might have come from when I snipped a pipe or something. How's the temperature of the base now? So the refinery room is a little bit nicer. Time to make that not so. There's a hot spot around the oil. And generally, I would say the base is pretty temperate. Oh god, there's so many... Oh my lord. Oh, they laid a pip egg too. 1, 2... So there's 3 more. Hey, live action pixel. You caught me right as I was wrapping up the stream. But pleasure to have you. How was your Oniing today? Mine is spaghetti as ever. I hope yours has gone smooth. But thank you so very much for the raid. You got some good spaghetti? Yeah, I'm just trying to set up, like, fix a lot of my spaghetti is really the TLDR. We just decided that I set up, like, air conditioning, and that created an immense amount of spaghetti because I have so many different oxygen and hydrogen lines everywhere around the base that it was very, very messy. Alright, another question. Why is this pump not running? Oh, because I'm a moron, and I didn't put in one cable. I put in the AND gate. Everything had the right settings. The switches were all good, but I was missing one little automation wire. Did the automation wire melt? What is the melt temperature of this automation wire? I thought it was higher than the geyser without gas. Because I was pretty sure I thought it was running. So this automation wire melts at 325 Celsius. And this outgasses at 500. Yeah, you know, the automation wires in here might need to be, steel. I'll do the same thing, down here with the other one. Yeah, I think it melted. I think that's what happened. Alright, so with steel automation wires, we're not going to run into that issue. So steel automation wires, if you're wondering, melts at 2,400 Celsius, so we're fine. But yeah, I didn't realize that my geyser lines literally just melted and then re-solidified, but yeah. Okay, let's sweep up that once molten but now solid lead. All right, glad I caught that, because that would have been a weird one to troubleshoot. So now a lot of the ventilation spaghetti has been unspaghettied, and we're still working on unspaghetting up this ventilation. As it uses up hydrogen, I can remove the old lines that are no longer necessary and unspaghettify that. Whoa, 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 whoa. We have done way too much. It got way too hot. Our liquid coolant. Oh, no, I guess it's fine. Throwing the alarm bells unnecessarily. So I'm just spending the end of this trying to unspaghetti as much as I can. I can do a pretty good job, too. So, I'll give you a full tour now, so you understand the system. We have got two geysers, hydrogen geysers. This hydrogen geyser has a clear shot pumping the hydrogen with an automation gate saying that the pressure has to be above 500 grams and the switch has to be on, and if both those conditions are met, the pump runs. And the pump pumps that hydrogen all the way down here, where it bridges with the same logic and same setup with the other geyser. It bridges, giving the hydrogen that is coming off our electrolyzer priority. And the electrolyzer's hydrogen goes through this filtration setup, which, yeah, it's basically just separating oxygen and hydrogen so that the oxygen goes to an oxygen line. I'll run you through that there. But yeah, then the hydrogen goes into these 10 tanks. I don't have overflow yet for this, and I'm not going to be designing overflow this stream for it, but goes into these 10 tanks, and then this is the last tank, and in the last tank it siphons off in a three-way, where it goes into 2 hydrogen generators, and then the last one goes up a line that feeds our, our nullifiers. So the good news is the nullifier spaghetti just got resolved. So then these 4 tanks feed the nullifiers, where this line comes off of the southern 10 tanks, and then these 4 tanks feed the nullifiers, where you can see it goes here through a switch, and then bridging. Oh. Okay, one error. This bridge should be for the oxygen, not the hydrogen. So I'll fix that. Because the hydrogen is hot, the oxygen isn't. So we'll force the oxygen to bridge instead. And feeding the other nullifier. So I caught, in talking you through it, I caught one problem with it. But short of that one problem, it was pretty, it worked out pretty well. So this was the one error I caught of the whole system. And I would say that's pretty good. So zooming out, we've got hydrogen coming in from here, from the electrolyzer, hydrogen coming in from here from the vent, and hydrogen coming in here from the vent. All three converge here, fill up these tanks, which then feed the two hydrogen generators, and then this line goes up and feeds the two nullifiers. All right, and then for the oxygen, following the path of the oxygen is generated here from water, from the electrolyzers. That hot oxygen goes through this system here, up, feeding, goes through the ATN to chill out a little bit, becoming more room temperature. And then once it's room temperature, it just goes into holding tanks. There's no more logic added to this because I didn't think it was all that necessary. The oxygen in these tanks are like 20 Celsius-ish. And I can always fix problems with, in post with some good old-fashioned Weezeworts. More logic could be added to that to make it more of a robust system, but that's I decided a little out of scope. So yeah, I fixed the spaghetti. It is now working as intended. And since the hydrogen lines... Actually, you know what? I would say both the hydrogen and the oxygen is basically full. Meaning that the electrolyzers can go on snooze, which is fine. Because I have 8 tanks of oxygen totally full of base nice temperature oxygen. And then I have 14 tanks of hydrogen full, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 10 down here. So yeah, I'm good on gas. I got a big old gas exporter. So, let's see. Oh, nice, like Mickey gloves. Cool. So, before I wrap up the stream, is there any last questions you guys have? Did you understand the little hydrogen, oxygen dealio? So I think the way I would fix or change the oxygen is, if you were wondering, is to do something like where I feed the oxygen in insulated pipes. I'm just going to demo it. I feed the oxygen into an insulated pipe. I expose it to one set of radiant, and then I do something like a gas pipe thermosensor, where I measure it. And then if the gas pipe thermosensor says it needs to be colder, I feed it through another shutoff and another radiant pipe and then another thermosensor. So basically, you chill it a little bit, you measure the temperature. If it's the good temperature, you shunt it down into storage. If it's the bad temperature, you chill it a little bit, you measure the temperature, and then you just do a weird like loop like that where you just keep making it a little colder and then measuring the temperature again, make it a little colder, measure the temperature again, so that you always end up with the right temperature oxygen. That's the thing I would change about that setup if I was to fix it. That way, and then to also make it so that there's always room in the gas reservoirs, meaning that when these gas reservoirs hit a low threshold, like let's say, when they hit a high threshold of like 50%, I straight up just shut down the electrolyzer. So that would be another thing that I would do, which would be a little crazy, but essentially setting it up so that when hydrogen or oxygen, I had enough of it. When I have too much hydrogen, I dump it to space. And when I have too much oxygen, I shut down the electrolyzer. Setting up logic for that. So, like, having the last tank of the oxygen, once it hits a high threshold, shut down the electrolyzer. And then when the last tank of the hydrogen fills up, open up an overflow valve up around here to just straight dump it to space. Because we die if we don't have oxygen. We don't die when we don't have hydrogen. So I would prioritize oxygen as the thing to have more of than hydrogen. You know, that's the one change I would do. But with that, I think that wraps it up. Thank you for tuning in to Oxygen Not Included, which originally streamed live on Twitch July 20th. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you would like to join my gaming community, Rhadamant.com also has a link to Discord, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching, and a special thank you to my Patreon patrons, Twitch subscribers, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you on next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow duplicates.